This is the AMC one-year overview reading for the year of 2024. It's currently December 11th, 2023, 11:07 p.m. Eastern Time. AMC at the time of this reading is currently $7.11. That's USD. And the shuffle video we're about to play was created on June 27th, 2023 at 7:04 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video here in the lower left corner. So the overall theme and behavior, having the Fool card as the theme card of 2024 indicates a really significant trade opportunity on like a multi-year scale, an opportunity that's like really improbable. So there's some sort of happening that takes place that's like really unlikely to take place, and it provides an opportunity, like a significant trade opportunity on a multi-year scale. There's probably a really big price change at one point. When you see the Fool card can be gap, like a gap up or down. It could just be like a really big move. It could be a high, it could be a low. There's a lot of things that it could be, but it indicates a significant opportunity. And being that it's a theme, the theme card, it indicates that on a multi-year scale. It's crossed with the Emperor card, which is a support level that in the case of a 2024 one-year reading, the Emperor card appearance indicates a support level being highlighted that's important on a multi-year scale. So the two of those together, I might be speculating here, but maybe it's that we decline pretty notably to visit a multi-year support level, like just briefly or something like that. We'll see when we get into it in more detail. Behavior around the highest high or highs for the year. I'm advised to be cautious near the highs, multiple false tops or bottoms, multiple false tops in this case, being that it's the high significator. And then behavior around the low, we have a notable decline on a one-year chart scale through multiple support levels to reach the lowest low or lowest lows. Before we go any further, I want to make sure that everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. And we do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. It's a threefold rule between the universe and anybody utilizing this information for personal gain. 5% of all profits from a profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of the charities here on the resources tab of our website, Terra for Traders. Just click here and donate. It's super easy. And then 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated back to the channel, expressing gratitude, helping to support the channel. It leaves you at 90%. That's way more than a stockbroker would leave you with. So make sure to spend that money out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor, and it's going to send it back to you tenfold. Thanks to all my angel investors. Blessings to you. Let's continue. So each cluster of 4 cards represents 1 month out of the year, and you can see their label going across. The 2 middle cards in the center of each cluster represent about 2 weeks of time, but what's important to understand is that not each card's energy is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time, and because of that, we in some cases will need to give the timing plus or minus 2 weeks of wiggle room. The sequence of events should remain accurate nonetheless, but occasionally the timing might be off. And in cases where it might be off, it's not like that for very long. It usually comes back to being on point as far as timing. Just follow the sequence of events and it will keep you on track in those cases. So in January, we have the January high is in early January. It's an important price level that we kind of flatten out by, important resistance, and we kind of flatten out near it. The January high has 3 pokes through the same trend line, or resistance line, I should say, followed by a sharp decline off of the 3rd poke, and that takes us into a prominent trough on a one-year chart scale in the later part of January. There's a pop and drop in the later part of January, and out of the low, we also have a significant move higher, pushing the upper end of a range higher on a one-year chart scale, taking us into an Ace of Swords kind of resistance price level in the February high. A lot of trade opportunity there between January and February that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Oh, wow, and that opportunity, it looks like that opportunity is isolated to this February high here. I only see one other correlation on the timeline cards, and by timeline cards I mean these cards going across, each representing about 2 weeks of time. This is, in essence, is how we time the events. So this is where we have a major opportunity. So this is probably a really big move to the upside here in February, and the price level here in February, there's enough price change here that we should be able to trade both directions, which I'll talk about in much more detail in the paid version. We have a resistance level that we met many times before in the later part of February. That's highlighted, and we go from a trough to a crest in the later part of February as well. The February low forms when we have a decline to meet a support level that we recently met once before. So it's likely that we're revisiting the lows from late January-ish in this trough, like in maybe the 3rd week of February. And then a lot of volatility in the early part of March. We have like a slightly higher trough than the previous trough in early March. And this period of volatility in the early part of March ends with a fast sudden move higher. That fast sudden move higher takes us into a March high early in the month. That rally is halted by a decline through a key support level on a multi-day scale. Behavior out of the low of March, we have a breakout on a multi-day scale, and then we have pretty mixed behavior back and forth throughout the later part of March, probably seeing 2 troughs in the midst of that behavior. There's also an important support level there highlighted that we've crisscrossed back and forth around on a multi-year kind of scale. There's a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels in the earlier part of April. That brief peak, it looks like it's a failed attempt to break through a key resistance that we expect to break through based on, I'll talk about in more detail what price level we break through in relation to that, and what price level we fail to break through. I see all that. I'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. And then we have an important trade opportunity around the April low that I'll include in the paid version as well. With the April low forms with a sideways fluctuating decline that precedes a rally, and the later part of April, a notable decline to multiple support levels, taking us into another prominent trough in May. Before we go any further, let's take a look at 2023 and see how we did thus far. We did this 2023 reading all the way back in September 3rd, 2022 at 1:56 p.m. So we've done so many, like our 1 year readings have evolved since then, and our understanding of the ruins have evolved since then. So I imagine that this isn't going to be like my best reading because it's so old, but it doesn't look awful. We nailed the low here. We have the lowest low for the year here in October, and you can see, I mean, October 4th looks like it came up in November as well. Interesting, and that Ace of Swords was acting as a low in this case, where we rallied higher and then we came back down to the lows again. And as far as the highest high, it doesn't look like we pinpointed a highest high at the time of this reading. We haven't indicated it, but looking at it now, very clearly a highest high in January, February, March 1st. So close. And then there's this rally in early May that offers an opportunity to open up a short position before a notable decline in June. You could have closed that short position there, or you could have held it until the lows of October, which would have been risky, but it would have worked out. So the trades were pretty solid. If you're interested in the paid version for 2024, what you get a lot more information than we had at 2023. So you get the best trades that we see throughout the year. I mean, the information, we run roughly at 98% average accuracy. You won't find this information anywhere but our channel. So that means that with 98% average accuracy, the majority of people won't have this extra information that you can rely upon for the most part. I mean, a 2% like fail rate. So with that said, guys, you get the best trades that we see, the timing of those trades, what to look for as far as entry and exit for chart patterns. You get the timing of the highest highs and the lowest lows. You get all the price level information that we're able to extrapolate when we are able to extrapolate price level information. In the case of this reading, we do have some. And then you get the overall performance versus that of the S&P 500 for the same 2024 1-year period. And any trades that we see on a multi-year relevant scale where we see these cross-street incongruencies and how the 2024 reading fits into the 10-year reading. All that, guys, super, super valuable information. You can really help to support the channel as well by getting this information. You go to our website, Tarot for Traders, our services, SO Meta Posts, scroll down to the 1-year report, click here to order, and then you want to specify the year, in this case 2024, put in AMC, or you could put in any ticker or crypto that you want, really, and add to cart $249 for a year's worth of information. My friends, I'm on live at least once, almost every single trading day, and on these lives, I'm using these 2023 1-year readings today. It's December 11th. I used them on today's lives even, right? They were made in September and October of 2022. Majority of them, like 90-something% of them, have 100% accuracy or close. So thank you to all those of you that go ahead and do this. It really helps to support the channel. Let's continue. The prominent trough in April and the prominent trough in May. And a lot of price change involved around May low towards the earlier part of May. And then it looks like we have this fast sudden move higher that takes us into a May high towards the later part of May. We go back into a trough around the cusp of May, June, and then a big move higher out of the trough. So it looks like we might have like a near overbought crest that forms later part of May that we sell off into a June low trough. And then there's this big move higher in early June to reach for distant resistance. We rally along a diagonal trend line, break through horizontal resistance, meet a second resistance, and then pull back to somewhere between those two price levels. And that's how we enter into the highs along the diagonal trend line. Looks like there's a significant high on a multi-day kind of scale, significant high here in the later part of June. That forms when we move higher through resistance, we stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through the same price level. And it may be that this high is combined with the high over here in July. We have the fortune card indicating an important high as well. And we have the strife card where we rally into resistance here early in the month of July, and then decline from that with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down, taking us into a July low. Most likely the July low is early in the month of July, and then we have erratic behavior back and forth through the same price level in the later part of July. In the midst of that erratic behavior, we usually revisit a crest that was recently a past opportunity. So it may be revisiting either the crest from June, or if there's another crest early, like a second crest here in the month of July, then that would mean that we're probably revisiting it again here in late July. But look out for a notable reversal around the July high. It'll stand out when we look back at 2024. Amongst other reversals, it'll stand out. And we attempt to establish support in the earlier part of August, moving sideways. Advised not to chase a rally into a peak in the later part of August. Behavior around the August low will be kind of bullish, but mostly sideways, bumping along resistance, maybe breaking through, bumping along resistance. And we have a prominent crest or peak in the later part of August on a 1-year chart scale. That forms when we have sideways rotation ending with a fast sudden move higher. And then there's a notable decline on a 1-year chart scale out of the high at the end of the month of August and into early September, declining through multiple supports. And then we meet a September low, a big move higher, taking us to a September high, which will be a prominent peak on a 1-year chart scale. And then we retrace all the way back to a September low again in the midst of some price swings in the later part of September. Or that September, it might be actually more at the beginning. That low might not be at the end of September. It might be at the beginning of October. We go from a low in early September up to a high, then price swinging into a low on the cusp of September, October. And that'll be a prominent trough for the year as well, forming when we have a decline to and through support to meet a second support. And then we rotate sideways along that support. In the midst of those price swings where we come back to that low, we also see a high in the midst of those price swings, a prominent peak in early October. So prominent peak and trough in early October. And then there's some sort of fake out around the October low, so I advise to be mindful and very cautious about making any decisions right there around the cusp. Mixed behavior in the later part of October, like a sideways S formation within a channel, and then equal amounts of bulls and bears inflow and outflow around the October high. We see the October high twice, actually, in the beginning of October and then again in mid-October, it looks like. The sideways S formation in the later part of October turns into more of a decline in November that increases with momentum. The pretty significant decline into a November low. That decline ends, however, in November with a fast sudden move higher out of the decline towards the end of mid to late November. and there'll be a prominent peak there. It'll be like an unexpected move higher, taking us to a prominent peak on a 1-year chart scale there for a November high. Early December, we have sideways rotation along key support, a bunch of trade opportunities I left out, but there's a trade opportunity there. I'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. Out of the December low, which is a cross-reading congruency as well, we have a rally that increases with momentum moving forward in time, taking us to a prominent peak, which is also a science price level or an important price level on a multi-year scale. December high forms when out of a decline with a big move from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range. And then in 2025, it looks like we're bound by a range on a multi-year scale. We'll look at that in more detail in the paid version when we're looking at the 10-year reading. And that's AMC for 2024, my friends. If you like this information, please do the channel a favor and subscribe, or if you've subscribed, please help out the channel by sharing this video with somebody you think it would help. But most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma, guys. The universe is counting on you to do so. It expects you to do that. And, it's the right thing to do. Make sure to follow through. Be the guy that helps the world and makes the world a better place, and the universe in turn will do the same for you. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.